Well, here I am back in the office, a little earlier than I expected to be, but things happen, man, and I'll get to Alaska. I know that I'll get to Alaska. It's not going to be this year. It may not be next year, but what went right? What went wrong? Let me tell you what went right. Absolutely incredible. About 80% of my ride was on roads and places I have never been before. And I got to see Wyoming and Montana, and I got to check Wyoming off my list. Hopefully, this fall I'm going to be able to check off South Dakota and North Dakota, and that just leaves, I believe, two more states that I haven't visited. So that was a lot of fun. I met some fun people along the road as well, and that made it kind of exciting. But it was a blast. I mean, it really was. I over estimated, I guess, the amount of time to ride. I used Google Maps. I sat here for 2 goddamn years, going over Google Maps and figuring out where I wanted to be and how long I would spend between each place. And I got to tell you, doing it in 30 days, that's just a motorcycle ride. That's no photography. There's no doing photography if I'm going to push that kind of schedule. And I don't want to do that kind of schedule. I'm a photographer first, a motorcyclist second. Maybe some people are backwards on that, but that's okay. That's what they like to do. I was following a guy. He spent about 35 days going from the east coast of the U.S. to Alaska and back. But for him, it was a ride. For me, it's I want to be there at dawn and dusk, and I want to be able to make photographs. I want to stop along the way and make a video. I found out early the first day that stopping just threw my schedule way off. By the time I got to Pangitch, Utah, wow. I mean, it was getting dark, and I still had to set up a tent. I missed not getting a space at the KOA by 3 minutes. That's how long it took. Essentially, I left here at 5 in the morning, here in Phoenix, 5 in the morning, and I rolled into Panguitch at 5 minutes to 7. And they were packing up to leave, so that was my camp spot. So I was able to get a camp spot, and of course it stayed late. It stayed light until about 9 o'clock because the sun goes behind the mountain, and we have that beautiful, that very pretty light that just exists there until dark. I got up the next day and rode towards Alpine, Wyoming, which, funnily enough, I didn't go through until the next day at noon. That's how far off my calculations were. I ended up spending the night in Evanston, Wyoming. Nice little town. Good Mexican food. Not great Mexican food, but good. I'll tell you about some Mexican food in a minute. Anyway, and then I left Evanston and headed north through some incredible scenery. Oh man, Wyoming is, wow, it's like right out of a movie poster or something. It was fantastic. And remember, this is all 2-lane roads. I'm really trying to stay off the freeway as much as I possibly can at this point. Wyoming was great. Went through Wyoming and ended up in Salmon, Idaho. I had to go through Idaho Falls to get there. Idaho Falls was hot and muggy. And did I mention it was hot? Because it was damn hot. Coming out of the mountains of Wyoming into Salmon, Idaho, it was hot. And I didn't expect that. I didn't expect that at all. So they were having a little bit warmer than normal temperatures then. Has great evening in Salmon, Idaho. Met some guys that were going camping up in the woods. But right about the time I got to Salmon, Idaho is when I hit the smoke. The smoke from the BC fires, or smoke in Idaho fires, there were Montana fires. And from that point on, Salmon all the way up to Eureka, Montana, I had no visuals at all. I mean, I had places where visibility may have been a mile or a half mile in some spots, especially in some of the passes, but that was it. and even photographs of something rather close to you, 300 feet away or 400 feet away, were soft because smoke just killed contrast. That was really terrible. It was in Eureka, Montana, big town. All the restaurants, by the way, if you're ever in Eureka, Montana, you better eat by 8, Jack. Either that or hit the Quickie Mart with the gas station. They stay open till 9, and they'll sell you like Nabisco treats or whatever they are. Tiny little town. Spent the night there in Eureka. Got up in the morning and was looking at my back tire and thinking, wow, this back tire is way, way less tread than when I left Phoenix. The only thing I can think of, and we put it, new tires on it and measured the mileage, count the mileage. So shouldn't have had a problem with it, but I did. At least I didn't feel I was going to ride all the way to Alaska on that damn tire. So I figured, hey, I'll go into Calgary and get a new tire. Got some friends in Calgary, no problem. Calgary's price for that $140 tire was $375. I got a discount of $75, but it still was a $300 tire and $200 to put it on. So my little budget that I had budgeted for going up there took a big, big hit that I didn't expect at all. I knew I was going to get tires in Anchorage. I was going to replace the front and the back in Anchorage or Fairbanks, whichever I could get the appointment. But I didn't expect to lay out this kind of money, because in Fairbanks I already had the price. It was going to cost me $210 for the back tire to be replaced. So that really took a hit. Calgary, the smoke all entering into Calgary wiped out any kind of photography that I wanted to do, except some of these big prairie shots. That was pretty cool, but even the shots of the mountains, when you're in the mountains, are dead because of the smoke. And I sucked in so much smoke. I'm wondering if I have lung disease at this point. It was pretty tough. It was a lot of damn smoke, a lot of smoke. It was a tragedy what happened over there. I'm upset at my motorcycle ride. I didn't get to take pictures, but my God, tens of thousands, if not millions of acres of fire in British Columbia and Montana and Idaho, and even in Wyoming, there were fires. It was very, very dry. Spent some time with Carol and her family up there, and they did a photograph of me with my motorcycle, which is kind of cool. And I headed out the next day to go up to Jasper and through Banff. And again, in Banff, Jasper, Lake Louise, smoke everywhere. I made a wrong turn. And I ended up in a place I should have been, and it added another full day to a schedule that I was already 3 full days behind on. So at this point, for me to make up the difference would have added a 4th day behind. I also realized that my budget was not going to allow for one single next bad thing to happen on the motorcycle, because I wasn't being able to camp as often as I could. The campgrounds were full. And so when you're not in a campground, you're spending $125, $150 a night on a hotel room. I didn't budget for it. I would tell you this: if you're going to budget to go to Alaska by car or motorcycle, however you figure out your mileage and gas you're going to buy, figure out your budget and double it. In fact, you're better off to triple it. I budgeted $3,500 for this trip. I think I should have budgeted closer to $7,000 to $10,000 for this trip. And at $10,000, I don't know if I'm going to do the trip, guys. There's like other things for me to do with 10 grand. So that was when I kind of made a decision to plan B it, try to get out of the smoke and find some cool places in the northern states that were, clear and places I hadn't been. So that's what I did. I headed south, went through Chief Mountain there, got back in the States, went up to Glacier National Monument, still smoke everywhere. Couldn't see Chief Mountain worth a damn. Couldn't see Glacier worth a damn. But the night before my birthday day, which was August 8th, The night before, it rained. First time it rained in like 50 days in Glacier. They were like blown away. It wasn't on the. I felt responsible for the rain. So it comes in and it rains, and I discovered that apparently my tent wasn't rainproof. I woke up on my birthday wet. I mean, everything was wet. Thank God the computers and such were in bags, that cameras were all protected in dry bags. But my sleeping bag, my jacket, everything was wet. So I had to get out. I had to get out of the tent, and it was muddy and still misty. And I thought, boy, if it rains while I'm tearing this damn tent down, I'm in trouble. So I hot-footed it and tore camp down as fast as I could. Got it packed, got it on the motorcycle, and just as I got on the motorcycle to leave, it started raining again. So I headed to the cafe, had myself a huge breakfast. It was like a jumbo breakfast for big giant jumbo lumberjacks. I had that. I had pancakes, I had eggs and sausage and bacon and biscuits and gravy. I couldn't eat it all, but I wanted it, and so I bought it. It was my birthday. I then met some guys that had been riding for quite a while. We were talking about, long motorcycle rides, and I mentioned that I felt a lot more confident on my motorcycle now that I had been riding for 10 full straight days. You always want to say something stupid like that before you go in the parking lot and drop your bike, which threw me across the parking lot, slammed my head on the ground, and wrenched my shoulder really bad. I am not going to take my shirt off and show you my shoulder, but it's kind of yellow and brown and orange, and it goes all the way down my arm. A big bruise. It also didn't feel real well. So I started out my birthday crashing my bike after eating a humongous amount of food and then riding up through the mountains of Glacier National Park. And Glacier is an incredible place. If you haven't been there, you must go. You have to bucket list Glacier. I gotta tell you, I want to go up in the fall, about a week before they close the road, and experience that mountain. It's beyond belief. Unfortunately, we still had smoke. I was hoping that the storm would blow it out, but it actually intensified it. But I got a couple of good shots with the smoke blending with the fog, and the difference between smoke and fog is that fog has texture. Smoke has no texture. So it's just a gray contrast killing mist, where fog, you've got a little bit dark and light or whatever. But it kind of blended together, and I probably got 3 or 4 shots, and I'm happy with 3 or 4 shots. I'm happy with that. Headed out of Glacier. Where did I spend the night? Oh yeah, went down to Boise. Warm in Boise, flat, not terribly pretty, but still smoke. Next morning, I left Boise. Oh, I mentioned that I didn't mention this. I did mention I was in Lulu, Montana, south of Missoula, after I stopped in Boise, and that's where I went and saw the doctor who looked at my arm, and which was great because it was right across the street from the hotel. I mean, literally, I walked out of the hotel, walked straight across the street, and that was where the doctor was. How cool was that? And I left, and I spent an extra day there because he wanted me to stick around just to see what was going to happen. I take blood thinners, so the bleeding inside the arm from the torn muscle just bled into my arm, and that's what you see there. Isn't that pretty? I'm told it's going to turn orange and yellow. I'm so looking forward to that. Anyway, rode over the mountains, Lulu over to right straight over, I think it's Highway 12. And oh my God, if you ever get a chance to go there, you've got a bucket list. It's an Indian reservation, Nez Perce, I believe, Indian reservation. And then I went straight up to Boise. And again, each one of these days, 320 miles, but yet it's taking 10 hours to get there. Roads are 50 miles an hour, 60 miles an hour, but it's taken 10 hours to get there. I mean, I'm not stopping for nearly as many pictures as I wanted to. I didn't make very many videos. So I'm gonna cut that in half. If I'm gonna go out and shoot, I'm gonna look for 150-mile days, and that's it. Because believe me, I don't know what I was doing wrong. But anyway, Boise to Twin Falls, where I met up with Dwight Mickelson, a friend of mine. We had a great lunch in Twin Falls, and then Boise, then Twin Falls. I went ahead and went on down to Ely, Nevada. Now that was a long day. That was about 425 miles, and I expected it to be a long day. It was a long, long day. And at the end of a long day like that, all I want is a beer and, well, Mexican food, because that's pretty much all I would exist on if they said, well, we found out that the world can only eat Mexican food. I'd be like so happy. Anyway, so I asked for the best Mexican food restaurant in town, and they sent me over there for ketchup salsa. Anyway, I guess it's a gambling town, so they get a lot of blue hairs there, and their idea of something spicy wasn't the same as me. I had Mexican food. It was as good as I could get, and I was happy. And a Corona. Headed down to Vegas. Long drive from Ely to Vegas. It's 247 miles of nothing. And it's beautiful nothing. It's not ugly. Northern Nevada is not like Southern Nevada. It is absolutely beautiful. Ranching country, mountains, not high, giant, majestic mountains, but good-sized mountains with trees and a whole lot of nothing. On the road from Wells, Nevada to Ely, Wells to Ely, I saw like 7 cars, and from Ely, first 100 miles out of Ely, I saw 1 truck past me. That was it. That was on 93. It's a big road. Eventually, more and more traffic came. I was early in the morning, but wow, Vegas was Vegas. Nothing there. And then I got home Sunday, 1 week from, or 2 weeks before as I left, 2 weeks from the departing day. And it was the worst day of motorcycling I have ever had. It was so hot and so muggy. I stopped at every stop there is. And if you know the drive from Vegas to Phoenix, there's not very many. You got Kingman, you got Wickiup, and then you got Wickenburg. There's nothing between Wickiup and Wickenburg. And there's nothing between Kingman and Wickiup. Nothing. So each time I would drink one of those great big 32-ounce bottles of water to try to cool my core, because riding, man, it was hot. Got back, ready to hit the decks on Monday, get some work done, and I spent Monday pretty much like this. That's like I didn't have enough energy to like even get out of the lounge chair. I was like, somebody bring me my iPad, because I'm not going to get up and get it. So that was pretty much because of the Sunday ride. So that's it in a nutshell. There's going to be a lot more coming about the ride, some great photographs and some specific incidences that happened along the way that were a lot of fun. But I just thought I'd give you a glance into what happened and what it was like. I'm not disappointed, but I'm disappointed. I mean, I really want to go to Alaska, but I'm not disappointed because I've never been 14 days on a motorcycle, so that's pretty exciting to be that long on a bike. I've never been that self-contained. I'm going to do a video on how much more crap I took than I needed. That's going to be interesting. Because I found I really didn't need over half of the crap I took. I didn't need. So I had 2 bags on both. I have saddlebags on the bike, and then I had 2 bags on top of those saddlebags. I probably could have gotten rid of both of those saddlebags. Definitely, I could have gotten rid of it if I didn't camp. Camping added, a sleeping bag, and they're pretty big. So anyway, that was my trip. Short and sweet. 20 minutes. I hope you enjoyed the overlong video, but what can I tell you? See you next time. Looking forward to it.